There we go. I have some tea now. It needs to steep for a bit. But in the meantime, let's see. Oh, someone sent me a super chat. DJ Niblets, thank you. First super chat ever. You deserve it. Love your streams. Thank you. That's very kind of you. That is very kind of you indeed. Play Mother 3. Oh, I already have. Like, well, not on any channels or anything, but I played that way back, like on a fan translation patch way back when. What kind of tea? Chamomile tea with honey. Because it soothes the throat. It's good for, like, stopping me from blowing up my voice by talking continuously for like an hour and a half. A feral rocket monkey screaming BRB making tea is an amazing screen cap, by the way. Yeah, I feel like this is like, there's some return to monkey meme potential with the boom baboon here. Jinx had a more conventional supplier once, but the two of them had a falling out. By which we mean the supplier fell out of a window. By which we mean the supplier was blown out of a window. By Jinx. So, this is a pretty standard action shot. So we have these action lines, these speed lines in the image. You can see them here, especially around the boom baboon itself. Drawing direct perspective line. This is a 1-point perspective. Is it a 2-point? No, it's a 1-point. Towards the explosion here in the background, which is sort of the central focal point of attention. And the central character, of course, is the boom baboon itself, which is a hell of a thing, this creature, isn't it? Like, the hell? Zon is a weird place, man. But there's not that much to say about it in terms of framing, in terms of, like, it's all, to me, it's kind of obvious. Like, every single line in the image, because it's a 1-point perspective, every line in the image emerges from the explosion. And so every line in the image becomes sort of part of the explosive power of the explosion. And so, like, it all kind of leads your eye from the explosion to the monkey, so you kind of know that the baboon caused the explosion. And it's like, yeah, it's, I don't know, there's not a lot to say about it. I don't feel like it has one of Jinx's Super Mega Death Rockets strapped to its back, funnily enough, which is a weird thing for it to have, besides all the flame chompers it's got going on. But yeah, I mean, it's a fine picture. Like, I like the idea of the boom baboon, but it's not really an image that excites me very much, unfortunately. Did you see the new Echo interaction with the Vi and Jinx implying that they were all part of the same group as kids? Well, sorta. As far as I understand, the dialogue between Vi and Echo and Jinx is that as grown-ups, well, or like Jinx at some point in the past went crazy, right? Like she had something happen to her that turned her into the insane explosion gremlin that she is. But before that, her and Vi were both part of a Zon Undercity gang of some kind. Like, while they were still pretty much adults. Like, it'll have been like 4 or 5 years in the past, something like that. And Jinx at that point wasn't quite insane yet. So the way I read that is that Echo knew them then. Like, he will have been a kid. Like, he will have been like a 10-year-old or whatever. And he will have known them while they were still part of the gangs. And now Jinx has gone, like, completely off the deep end. And Vi has joined the Piltover Enforcers. And that's, like, he talks about how they've changed from that time. But I don't think he knew them as kids. And I don't think he was, like, friends with them when they were all kids together. Because Echo is a lot younger than Vi and Jinx are. And also, yes, Jinx is called Powder. As far as I think Powder will be her name before she turns crazy, like before she goes off the complete deep end, her name will have been Powder. Like gunpowder, you know? Right. Right, the Kyrian Sump Worker. Now, this one was introduced along with its derivative card before Echo was put in the game, but now we know that this is Bo, and that he's one of Echo's friends. Let's see. What else? What else? What? Ah, the Redfin Hammersnout. Yeah. The Redfin Hammersnout is a fascinating specimen of the bilgewater ecology. So, the first thing about this image I note is that what species are these? Like, are these sailors? And if so, what species are they? Because they seem to have, like, scaly hands. And I don't know if they're wearing armor or what exactly is going on there. I think they're wearing armor that's made from, like, creatures. But, like, they could be Vestia, or they could be something else. It's not clear to me. But it's curious. Interesting to look at. There he goes again. Yes, I know. I like the German accent because it makes all of my German followers so very unhappy. And I enjoy trolling our neighbors to the south. You get to use our beaches naked in the summer, so I get to troll you. A little bit. And you get to troll us, like, as you often do. No, it's a terrible German accent. It's awful. It's a cartoon German accent. That's the point. It's terrible. Anyway, these are the Jawhunters. Are they the Jawhunters? I'm trying to think, like, because the ship that they have here looks vaguely similar, but I think the Jawhunters look a little different on the ship that they had in. Yeah, like, because that, I feel like the sail there is different. Or not? No, that's the Jawhunters. Okay, well, I'm wrong. So that is the Jawhunters. Cool. That's interesting. If you can do the W sound right, it will always be spot on. Yeah, well, sorry, the problem is that I'm Danish, so if I try to do a proper German accent, like a real one, I'll just, like, automatically slip into a Danish accent, because the Danish accent is, like, relatively close to German, except that we have what's called the Scandinavian whine, which is at the end of our sentences when we're talking in a Scandinavian or Danish accent. We tend to do upwards inflections as though we're always asking questions. That happens a lot in Danish accents. And it's close enough to a German accent that I can't really do a real German accent because I just keep slipping into Danish. Anyway, the Jawhunter ship is from the used ship emporium. Yeah. Where were we? Right, the hammerfin snout. So, hammerfin snouts, and like, the same as some of the other fish creatures we've seen, I think this one shows up in Pike's art as well. That's one of the fish in the background. You can't tell I'm Danish. Oh, sometimes you can. Like, Nikolaj, læg mærke til en gang imellem, når V og W, dem flytter jeg rundt på. Nogle gange så fucker jeg dem op, så jeg siger V i stedet for W, og den anden vej rundt. Og nogle gange også TH-lyd. The og sir, you know. Den slags. Anyway. Supposed to be talking about these goddamn cards. So, a little bit of framing here. It's subtle, but it's there. The surface of the sea here, the sail of the ship over there, as well as the breaking sail of the ship over here, create this sort of wedge shape in the middle of the image that creates a little bit of a frame, just a bit, for the jawfish to smash through. What was I saying? It was Danish! Welcome to the Danish language. It sounds like we're talking with potatoes in our mouths. It creates a little bit of a frame that the hammerfin snout occupies, and it smashes through it. Like, you can see it's literally breaking through. Like, if this is one side of the frame, you can see it is literally smashing through the frame there. So you get, like, this helps create that sense that this thing is, like, bursting up from under the sea and smashing something to pieces. I kind of wish there was more water in the air. Like, I kind of wish there was a bigger splash from the fish breaking through the surface and smashing the ship. That would communicate, I think, the violence of the moment just a little bit better. Be careful, Scott. You don't want to summon Cthulhu by accident. Yeah. Like, that might emphasize the power of the action, like the power of the moment a little bit more. But the composition, again, the way that the hammerfin snout is, like, bursting through the center of the image like this, bursting through this frame, helps create that sense of, like, boom! Like, this thing that's smashing through the image. And then as well, like, obviously all the stuff that's flying through the air, the sail, like the shattered mast, like the people being thrown around like ragdolls, all of that also helps create the sense of that moment. Which works quite well, frankly. It's a nice little action shot. It's nothing spectacular, but it's good. Bonk. And, Bonk. Moving right along. Let's see. That was a 3 costs. No, 2 costs, so 3 costs. So next. There we go. The Snapjaw swarm is about to consume this poor Yordle. So, remember this Yordle? We've seen this poor guy before. He's not been having a good time. It's the Yordle grifter. This poor guy. He clearly tried to pull some kind of scam on this lady who I believe is the... God damn it. She's the 7 cost from Bilgewater. Oh my god, there's so many cards now. Or is she an 8 costs? Something like that. Where is she? She's the bounty hunter person. Where are you? I'm committed now. I can't go back. I have to find her. Let's make it easier. There she is. This is Sheriff Lariat Rose, I believe. Whomst the grifter is trying to pull a fast one on. And presumably the result of trying to pull that fast one is that the poor guy found himself the victim of the Snapjaw swarm here in the middle of nowhere. You can see his fez floating in the water over there. Yeah, he's having an overall bad time. He's also in the card art for oh, come on. It's not called that. Navori. The Navori Highwayman, where he's being robbed while traveling through Ionia right here, but I don't think that's directly connected to the story of the Snapjaw swarm. So yeah, little bit of continuity story. Which is one of the things I love about Legends of Runeterra cards, is that they make these little mini narratives. Which is, to me, one of the things, like I was recently looking through Hearthstone art, like the art that they use for the cards in Hearthstone, and like it made me realize just how much on another fucking level Legends of Runeterra is compared to like Hearthstone art. The card art for Hearthstone cards is often like kind of garbage. Like it's kind of not very good at all. Like a lot of it is just really kind of shitty, and not very well composed, not very well put together. And doesn't really do a lot of storytelling. Like, it's like Hearthstone card art tends just to be, oh, here's a character. That's it. Like, it's just like a character. Maybe they're casting a spell. Maybe they're doing something. But like the whole storytelling aspect, the whole like creating a complete narrative, or telling stories across multiple cards, they don't do that. Like, at all. And it's like looking from that to the quality of the art in the cards in Legends of Runeterra. It's like, damn, like Riot really did invest a lot in making the card art look really fucking good. They really did. Like, it's like, I just can't go back to Hearthstone anymore, both because the monetization in that game is garbage, but also just because, like, the art is so much better in Legends of Runeterra. It's crazy. Anyway, so, compositionally, there's a central compositional element in this image that creates a lot of the storytelling for us, and it is the shattered boat that the poor guy is clinging to. The shattered boat right here creates this wedge shape that pokes up out of the water, right? Like, it creates this sort of, like, this wedge shape that stabs out of the water, and here again, much like we saw with the Cersei art, like with the people hiding from the giant Cersei kind of poking into the space, here we have a separation of two spaces. We have above the waves, above the water, where the Yordle grifter guy is probably not going to die immediately, like not safe necessarily, but so long as he's up here, so long as he's above the water, he's probably going to be fine. But the moment he's below the water, he's not going to be fine. He's not going to be fine at all. So again, there's this sense of peril that's being created just by the composition, because this is the tiny little sliver of nothing that he has up here to occupy. This is the only safe ground anywhere in this image for him to be on. It's there, and it's already like, you can see this giant wave sweeping over that's like basically threatening to knock him off this little tiny perch that he's sitting on. Whereas the fish, this Snapjaw swarm, they have all of this space to play in. All of this space belongs to them, and there are hundreds of them. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. All of this belongs to them. So the moment you go in the drink, little yodel boy, that's when it's gonna be over. So, like, there is this sense of, like, this man is, like, he's not, like, necessarily in completely immediate peril, the same way that the people who are hiding from the Cersei were. But he's fucked. Like, he is fucked. And you can see that on his expression as well. It's kind of haunting, the expression they've given him here, really. Like, he looks... Like, that's not an expression that you see on the face of someone who's ever gonna be okay again. Is it? Like, that's not the face of someone who's... Even if he survives, he's never gonna be okay again. Like, he's just not... Never. Nope. I wanted you to loop the previous... Like, Jesus Christ, you almost played a fucking Maroon 5 cover, YouTube. I wanted you to loop the fucking Riot Games music playlist. I did not want you to go to a fucking pop song cover. If I get copyright claimed, I'm gonna be pissed. Anyway. So yeah, the storytelling here is kind of haunting. So, other compositional pieces. So the two main character fish in the image, right, are these two, which are also the ones that are being singled out by the art on the actual card that you play in game. And they're singled out because they are literally singled out in the image. They are the only two fish in the image where, like, we see, like, the whole body of the fish, and we see the whole body separate from being part of a giant swarm. Like, every other fish in the image, all of them, are all part of a swarm of some kind, or they're obscured, or they're not quite. So, like, these two fish are the only ones where we really see their bodies fully, and so they become the main character fish of the image. Poor guy. Like, I kind of hope he survives and gets some therapy. Because, like, damn, no one deserves that. So, moving on to the 3 costs, I believe. Is about time? Yeah. Here's the Practical Perfectionist, another one of Echo's followers, and he's right there, hanging out in the background of the artwork. And as it turns out, the Practical Perfectionist is the person who created the counterfeit copies. Like, they are the ones responsible for making the machine that makes counterfeit copies, which ties into their play pattern. Because a lot of what Echo and his followers do is, like, they duplicate cards, and so that you can draw, like, so that you can manipulate what kinds of cards you draw and, like, how you use them along with predictions to create, like, a really controlled deck. Like, with a certain amount of RNG, but, like, when you have a good Echo deck, I've played around with it a little bit, you can have a lot of control over exactly what cards you get and in what order. It's really cool. I think my tea is ready. I shall take a delicious sip, then. Ah, yeah, that's the stuff. Ah, that's good. Yeah, it's not so much a call back, it's a call forward. Yeah, you're right about that, Arcana Asmadi. She looks like a My Hero Academia character, is it just me? Yeah, there's a bit of that in there. Like, there's an anime aesthetic to this character, Kay. There's definitely an anime aesthetic to her, which I quite appreciate. Like, I kind of like that, especially when we're dealing with, like, these young kids. Like, they are kind of shonen protagonists already. What kind of tea do I have? It is chamomile and honey tea. Where are my hands? Currently on my mouse, and the other hand I'm playing with... I have this charger. I don't know what it's for. It's a charger, like, it's got a USB port on it. I don't know what it's for. I think it's just a 12-volt charger. And I'm kind of playing around with it in my hands. It's just kind of flipping it over, messing with it. But yeah, there's a little bit of an anime aesthetic going on with her, which I think works well. Like, I think works well for the characters that they are. They are these young kids, like, living in this techno-punk fantasy realm. So I think it's fine to have a little bit of anime aesthetic there. Notice the hourglass on the front of her shirt, the same one that Echo has painted on his face, and the same one that... And now we're going to have to go all the way back to the skateboarder character, whomst is... Here, Dropboarder. Which is the same symbol that her friend has painted on her hoodie. So, like, I think that's the symbol of their gang, insofar as they have one, is what it would be. It's like the symbol of their group, which I think is pretty cool. But yeah, so characters being main characters. So we have a champion in this image, right? Like, we have a champion, which are usually the most outrageously designed characters in any space. So how do we prevent Echo from becoming the main character of the image? Well, we desaturate the shit out of his colors. You can't tell that he's wearing a bright red bandana in this image because it's so desaturated, and there's this bright green light from the duplicator machine. And like he's so desaturated, he's kind of washed out by the light coming in from above that, like, it's just all of his colors are basically gone. And we blur him out. We blur him a little bit. We deny him detail. We make his face not very visible. All of that just to ensure that he's not too visible in the image. And compare and contrast this with, like, there's another image where Echo is kind of in the background, and that's his champion artwork. Like, he's kind of in the background over here. But here, his colors are fully saturated. Like, all of the colors there. His hair is bright white. His skin is dark. His little, his bat, his clock hand bat is bright and glowing. Like, there's a lot of stuff drawing attention, like bright green pants, all of that's there. Completely different when we get to the Perfectionist, where he's completely washed out. Like, his skin almost looks gray in this image because he's so washed out. And that's one of the ways that you create this visual hierarchy of the first thing you notice is Kay and her machine. Then, eventually, your attention gets drawn to the other character in the image, which is Echo. And then you start looking at the background. So yeah, it's like very good visual hierarchy, lots more saturation of color over here. As a character design, she's also kind of fine. Like, I feel like I really like the detail that she's got this little band-aid on her face, like she's kind of cut herself while doing her experiments and stuff. I feel they could have gone a little harder on making her look a little weird. Like, give her a little bit more punk aesthetic, give her a little bit more oddness or something. But the way she's put together, like, she is clearly distinct and, like, clearly a kind of quirky character all on her own. So it works really well, especially as part of the group. And then here is another one of their experiments. The volunteer Elnook. This poor little creature who is gonna get duplicated by the duplication machine. And it works, by the way. That's the terrifying thing, is that the machine that can duplicate things can also duplicate people! Or, well, at the very least, Elnooks. Okay, little buddy, you just sit still while I flip this switcheroo over here and boom! Ha! Elnooks forever! We're totally gonna need more grass and room. Oh, this poor little creature's adorable. He's adorable. Look at his little very good friend. There's a adorable little face and his tiny little chunky teeth and shit. He's a cute little buddy. Anyway, Echo over here, you can tell by the little skull cap on his knee, and we've got Kay over here on the left. Neither of them are characters in this image because their faces are invisible, because they're desaturated in the image, and there's a framing device going on where literally this ray of light that duplicates the creature, this alien-like ray of light coming down from above like they're about to be abducted by a flying saucer, creates a frame in the middle of the image that the Elnook then occupies and is highlighted quite literally by light as the main character of the image. Stuff that we've all talked about before. I really want to make an Elnook deck now. I really want to just use the volunteer Elnook and then counterfeit copies on the volunteer Elnook over and over and over again and just put a million Elnooks in my deck and then buff them all with Iceborne Legacy. I want to do that. That's fun. I want to do that. Probably do that for a video someday, maybe. I don't know. Because that's like a hilarious meme deck to me. Like, for me, the most fun I ever have in Legends of Runeterra is when I play something completely fucking stupid that, if it works, will ruin your day and completely completely screw up your deck, screw up your board, overwhelm you, and be impossible to counterplay. But if it doesn't work, I eat shit. That's the most fun I have, is when it's like either I win, and I win in the stupidest way possible, or else I eat shit. Play the card interactions of Kay, please. I can't. Well, I can, but I'm gonna have to do a lot of messing around to rejigger the stream. I don't want to do that right now. Watch them yourself. They're really good. Go give Skin Spotlight your views. Anyway, the Cersei Caller. So this is a very different character design than the Cersei Hatchling we saw previously. You can see some unifying character design elements. They have these slits, almost like gills on the sides of them. They have these sort of mandibled faces. that, like, they've sort of borrowed from Rek'Sai. But this is much more of a little tiny velociraptor kind of design. Like, more like a chicken than the Cersei hatchlings, which are more like these big four-legged cow creatures, almost. But they're designed much more after birds, these things. And they have these calls as well, which is expressed through their prediction mechanic. So, we've got two characters here in the background, whomst you might not recognize because they're tiny, but whomst it might be worth trying to recognize because they are some of Talia's followers from the previous expansion. Let's see. I think it's the Psy Scout, and it's the back here, the, God damn it, what's she called? She's a 4-cost card, I believe. Somewhere 5-cost? Yeah, Desert Naturalist. There she is. It's these characters in the background running away. And by the way, I didn't really mention that during the last stream, but I fucking love the character design of the Desert Naturalist. She's so fucking cool. She rules so hard. I love her makeup. Like, the smile, the confidence, the big muscles. Like, it's just a cool character. It's just a really nice, distinctive character. I really like her. Anyway, they're there in the background running away from the Cersei. And hopefully they get away, because bad. Very bad. But yeah, the Cersei callers themselves. So, little bit of framing going on. Not much, but there's a little bit of, like, you can see how the salt spires or the mushrooms or whatever the fuck these things are. You can see how that creates a little bit of a frame, like a little cul-de-sac around which, like, to sort of frame the main Cersei caller against. Which does a little bit of work of highlighting it, but mostly this one is just highlighted by the fact that it's the biggest thing in the image. Like, it's just large. It takes up like a full third, pretty much, of the image, all on its own. And everything else is smaller, and everything else is less saturated. So it's just a little bit of color hierarchy and a little bit of size hierarchy doing the work of highlighting this character right there. Moving on to one of the Shadow Isles cards, of which we did not get many, here's the Astral Fox. A handful of Targonian tribes speak of the Fox, a god of death seen as a lone star in the night sky. As the legend goes, the Fox descends upon the mountain with each death and takes the soul to the skies to create his own dark constellations. And this one's interesting in terms of the lore that surrounds these death spirits on Runeterra, because I think it's one of his voice lines. Like, there's this implication that they are somehow related to the Celestials, which is interesting, because, like, that's... I don't think... That implies that the Celestials have, like, a broader range of natures than we previously knew or believed. And it's, like, there's some weird stuff going on with the lore that they're creating around the Celestials and around these death spirits. Anyway, this guy, cool character design. Yeah, as people in chat are pointing out, it's almost as though there's, like, this dual lamb and wolf thing going on with them. Where we have this... whatever the hell this floating creature is, that has, like, these long horn tendrils, and he seems to be wearing the mask of this thing, with these long horn tendrils, and it seems to be wearing the mask with the shorter, stubbier ears of the fox himself, which is curious. Like, that's an odd thing. There's this duality thing going on, and again, I'm not really sure how the hell this works out with the lore of Kindred, with the lore of the Mask Mother and the deaths of Runeterra. It's Riot are laying down a lot of interesting cards there. Pornicrit, every sub-expansion had to remind him that he overthought everything. Well, I mean, I don't think he overthought it. He went with the information that was available at the time and created some interesting fun theories and some nice videos about those theories that I very much enjoyed watching. I don't think it's a waste or anything. Tea. Anyway, cool character design, this guy. I like the beaded necklace thing that he's got going on, because it's like, it's sort of this weird, almost net-like construction hanging around his neck. I like the way that the mask interacts with the face, that it, at the same time, it gives him these giant, haunting, round, sort of spiraling eyes that almost seem like they're sucking things in. But at the same time, it also gives him a very neutral expression. Like, he doesn't really seem to have much of an emotional affect about this. There's the cane, which gives him this vibe of being kind of elderly and old and slow, which is an interesting way to sort of conceptualize death. That kind of works really well. It's a cool little design. Most of all, though, he just reminds me of Robin Hood, like Disney's Robin Hood, where, like, this scene where Robin is also, like, pretending to be old and he's wearing this green cloak over his shoulders. I just reminded of that all the time. the entire time. It's the only thing I can think about. So despite the character design being really cool, that's all I can think about. Anyway, framing. There's a little bit of it. You can see it with the trees here in the background, like framing the sky and the moon. And you can see like the body of the dead person on the ground creates a little bit of this frame around the character himself. We've also got something that I haven't talked about yet on this stream, but which we've talked about on every single one of the streams, which is the Dutch angle. And a Dutch angle is a term from film theory. It's not really from like art analysis as such, but it's a Dutch angle is when the horizon line in the image is severely tilted from from actually being horizontal, right? So the horizon line here is something like this. Like if you were to be able to see the horizon, it would be tilted like this. And in this artwork, it's used as a way, like when you tilt the image, you get more vertical space, right? Like if we tilted this image like 45 degrees to the right, or clockwise rather, we would lose all of this sky because that would all just kind of get thrust up too high in the image. We wouldn't be able to see the moon. We wouldn't be able to see like the background behind the character. We wouldn't be able to get this framing that we've got here. So a lot of the cards in Legends of Runeterra are tilted like this because it creates more vertical space for the artist to use to create their compositions, even though the composition itself has to be this like 16 by 10, very, very broad, like this very, very sort of flat composition otherwise. So it's kind of an attempt to sort of get the best of both worlds, where you both get like the advantage of this big landscape configuration, but also a little bit of the advantages of height. Where did the term Dutch angle come from? I don't know. I don't know where it came from. I just know it's from film theory. And a Dutch angle in film is usually used to create a sense of unbalance, like a sense of lack of balance, a sense of tension. Because when there is a Dutch angle in like a movie, it's like when the camera is tilted that way, it creates an uneasy feeling in the viewer. Oh, Antoine Lelong, manifesting some support for your work. I hope you're doing good. I wish everyone watching a good whatever time it is where they are as well. Thank you. That's very kind of you. Right, and now we can move on to the undisputed best Poro of them all, the fabled Poro. This little friend has mustache almost as good as Brom. Look at this guy. Don't call him porn, by the way. Please don't call him porn. Please stop doing that. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's unwholesome. We do not accept that here. Don't do that. But yeah, it's Ornn's Poro, and Ornn is even in the background. He's right back there. You can see his horns and his big giant form, as these little Poros are just, well, enjoying themselves making stuff on the forge. And look at this freaking unit of a thing. Look at that giant mustache. Look at this friend, holding hammer high, striking down upon anvil, doing the hard work that'll earn him a big glass of milk. Cannot resist doing the Braum voice when we're talking about Poros, especially someone as like magnificent as this little guy. Look at that giant mustache. Look at those giant eyebrows. He's so cool. I love him. I love him. I want to put him in all my decks, even if it doesn't make sense. God, he's so awesome. And he grants keywords, which makes him a fucking terror in any deck that revolves around the big Poro, the big fluff of Poros. Because like you can give them so many keywords and you can make them elusive and it's really fun. I'm gonna make a deck around this. I definitely am. Anyway, the thing I love the most about this guy though is the braids. It's the braids and the little ponytail, like the way that he's holding his fur back with these like, it gives him so much character, doesn't it? Like it just makes him so distinct from all the other little fluffy bastards. Like it's just a good little character. I love him. He's so cool. When will we have Volibear Poro? We'll have Volibear Poro when Volibear is added to the game, I'm sure. Like, I take this as confirmation that Ornn is coming to Legends of Runeterra at some point. Like, he has to now, because he has to have a voice line where he's like, your work is acceptable, for the fabled Poro. Because, like, this is so good. Look at this good boy. Look at this excellent little lad. Fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. So, not much framing going on here. There's a little bit. You can see this pillar here, the anvil there, and then this pillar in the background creates a little bit of a frame right here for the fabled Poro to occupy. And then we have a little bit of frame over here, a secondary frame where the other two little assistant Poros are hanging out, doing their thing. He's highlighted with red. Like, you can see most of the other environment that surrounds him, except for this bit in the background here. Mostly it's grays and whites, right? But then there's this bright red coming from the forge that illuminates our fabled Poro right there in the foreground, and that works really well. But yeah, Ornn is there, as I said. He's right there in the background. There is one figure said... No, let's do this in promise. There is one figure said to be legendary to all Poro kind. It is said, as he travels, he bestows his deserving fairy friends with all manner of magical forged gifts. But no gift as good as Brom's door. He's so good. I love him. He's excellent. Let's see. The Shrieking Spinner is not new, I believe. So it's the Swiftwing Flight next. Oh, Larkin Gat, why did you have to plant the phrase Ornn Hub in my mind? Why did you have to do that? I will never be able to unthink that now. I will never be able to not think of Ornn Hub and what might be on it. I hope you're happy with yourself. God damn it, my head is covering Cythria. Oh yeah, she's back there in the background. Let me get me out of the way then. There. So, Swiftwing Flight. The very sight of the Swiftwing Flight inspires Demacian soldiers on fields far below. Upon seeing them descend through the clouds, those on the ground are reinvigorated and ready to continue the fight. So, like, I'm not that into this art. Like, it's nice art. It's really well rendered. It's really well put together. It's really well... It's like, it looks pretty. The colors are good and so on. But as a compositional piece, I just kind of don't feel it very much. Because, like, there is this flow. Like, there's good flow in the piece. Like, everything flows in the direction that the creatures are flying. Like, they have this long banner. We have the wings and everything. And the wings themselves, like, you can see they create a little sort of... a little frame for the rider to occupy right there. But it's like, I just don't feel this. Like, this image doesn't excite me. There's nothing really exciting about it. It's just, like, it's cool birds and some armor person is a banner. Like, there's just nothing interesting about it to me, very much. And that's, like, a very subjective criticism. Like, that's not really something I can't really point to anything. But it's just, I think it's because it's such a side-on composition. Like, we're just looking at these things from the side, and they're just kind of flying past us, like, clearly on the way to do something. Dramatic, probably, but we don't really get to be part of it, so I don't really feel involved with the action here. It's like I'm just kind of watching, oh, hey. They flew by. Zoo. Oh, there's another one. Zoo. Oh, a third one. Wow. So I don't really feel included in the action here. And that's like, it's a little bit, it's just kind of a boring image to me. And we have Cythria down there, Lady of the Clouds Cythria, who is a time paradox of some kind. Like, I don't know what the fuck's going on with Cythria that they decided to make her into that. But, there's like a riot in time. Guess they have their reasons. But there's a little mini frame right there created by the tail and the wings of the bird creature that frames Cythria there in the background. So you can look for her if you're into Easter eggs. Let's see. What else? Ah, Cersei, the Under Titan. So this is an image that's a lot like Rek'Sai's level 2. In fact, it's doing exactly the same pose as Rek'Sai, which I think is a little bit of a pity, because it makes it feel kind of derivative and not very... Like, it just makes it feel like a Rek'Sai again, like another Rek'Sai creature, in a way that I feel is a little bit of a pity, because, like, it's literally even got the same body construct. It seems to just be like another Rek'Sai in a lot of ways, which I think is a bit of a pity. Like, we talked earlier about design diversity being good, and it's like, this thing to me, especially this card, is just too Rek'Sai, and I wish it was more unique. I wish it was more its own thing, rather than just being Rek'Sai, but with an even bigger mouth and, like, teeth on the inside. But, hey, if you're into Vor, this might be your thing. Could be Rek'Sai's mate. Yeah, I don't think Voidborn mate. I don't think they do that. I don't think they reproduce sexually in that way. I think they just kind of replicate. But I guess, like, it would be Rek'Sai's husband, I suppose. Not Vor. I mean, come on, don't be so sensitive. Honestly, like, you mention Vor and people freak out. It's not that well. Okay, I'm kind of biased because I've been on the internet since the 90s, and, like, Vor is just literally not even the third most weird thing I've seen. It's not even the 10th weirdest thing I've ever seen. Like, there's some weirder shit out there. Y'all are just oversensitive. It's not that weird. Come on. But yeah, it's pretty much just a Rek'Sai image again, and it uses the same techniques. Like, we have a person here for scale. So Ornhub isn't okay, but Vor is? Well, yeah, like, fair enough, I guess. I'm just desensitized to Vor, but I'm not desensitized to the thought of an entire website dedicated to, like, whatever would be an Ornhub. Smithing videos? Like, naked smithing videos, I guess? Whatever. But yeah, person for scale, to sell the size and the threat and the danger of it. The size of the creature itself, emphasizing the danger that it poses to the person in the image, and emphasizing its massiveness and its ability to dominate its environment, and its ability to consume. Kind of like the fish, the long eel creature, the sharkling that we talked about. This character is, like, very much defined by just their gaping maw of a mouth that just, like, eats, that consumes everything in front of them. Right. Moving on to the Cersei Dunebreaker. So this thing is a beetle, which is, like, again, I wish the Void designs weren't so animal-inspired. I wish that they were more cosmic horror instead of being animals. But if you're gonna be inspired by an animal, like, fucking Rhino Beetle is not a bad place to go, because those things are badass as hell. And I do like how this design comes together. It almost looks like a mecha a little bit, the way that it's composed. So again, we have people for scale, and we have people being thrown the fuck around to sort of emphasize the power of the creature itself as it breaks out through the dunes. Its teeth are so human. Well, I mean, the teeth are sharp, like these are fangs, all of them, but yeah, it has kind of a slightly human-looking mouth, and I like that. Like, I like that the mouth is a little bit human-looking, because that's, like, fucking unnerving. Like, that's weird. That makes you go, ah! And that's good. Like, that's the kind of vibe that Void creatures should inspire. You should go, ah, when you look at them. But yeah, like, not a lot to say about the composition here that we haven't covered already. Like, the debris being thrown around to emphasize the action of the shot. It is a little bit it's different from either the Under-Titan or Rek'Sai in the way it's composed, because the Under-Titan and Rek'Sai in their images, like in Rek'Sai's level 2 and in this one, they're all coming slightly towards us, right? Like, they're coming towards us a little bit. They're, like, moving towards the viewer in a certain sense, right? And that's kind of that's part of what gives them the menace and the fear and, like, the threat that they've got. This creature is not moving towards us at all. This creature is moving perpendicular to us. It's moving across from us. It's moving, like, to the side, and sort of a little bit like the Swiftwing Flight. That makes me feel a lot less engaged with it. Like, it feels less threatening to me directly as an image, because it's not really... I'm kind of on the sidelines observing this thing happening, rather than being like, oh shit, this thing is coming towards me right now, oh god! Like, it's less threatening and it's less fearful, I think. And that's not really a problem as such. It's just I feel more engaged when the viewpoint character is more engaged with the action, especially when it comes to things that are supposed to awe you or scare you. But yeah, I do like the beetle design here. Like, I like the dual horns that it's got going on, like the bladed horns. Like, because that shit just looks rad as hell. And it's got, like, the whole, like, the face construction with the multiple eyes and the sort of two human-looking teeth. It all works. Like, it's a good character design. It's just not the most exciting thing in the world. To me, anyway. In all fairness, some Voidborn take on the form of Runeterra creatures to better adapt to the world. Even the Watchers loosely imitate the human form. Yeah, I mean, that's the lore explanation that Riot have made up for it. Like, Riot were like, oh, we need to make up an explanation for why these extra-dimensional horrors just happen to look like animals, and they made up that particular explanation, is that they kind of have to adapt to physical reality. And that's fine. Like, it works. It's just like, I like monster designs, especially like when they're cosmic horror monster designs. I like them to be as alien as possible. But that, like, but one of the prices that you would pay for that in terms of character design, when you have these creatures that are designed after animals, you give people a frame of reference. Like, you give people a way to approach them and to understand them. in a way that makes them more engaging to a lot of people. Like, that make them less alienating and more like, oh yeah, no, I get this. I've seen this before. I know how this works. Like, I know what's going on there. And that's a good thing. Like, especially when it comes to monster designs, that can be very advantageous in terms of creating viewer engagement with the creature. Whereas if the thing is really unsettling and completely like incomprehensible, which is what I like, you have to do a lot more work to get the audience to understand the thing as a creature. Because, like, you look at this thing, and you know what it does. Like, you know, okay, this thing is going to charge at you. It's got blades on its front. It's built like a battle tank. It looks like this giant rhino beetle thing. I know how they work. It looks like a rhino. Like, you kind of know what this creature is and why it's scary. But if it's much more abstract, if it's much more like this non-Euclidean geometry that's kind of loosely knitting itself together into flesh kind of thing, it's a scary thing to look at, but it's not as easy to discern as a character design in terms of what threat it poses. And that's the reason why almost always when you get alien character designs, there is inspiration from flora and fauna from Earth on there, because it creates a frame of reference that you can understand as a character design. I just wish that sometimes they try something that's like completely fucked up weird and not within the usual sense of like human perception. Anyway, this creature's fucking rad. Like, this whole thing is fucking rad as hell. I fucking love this thing. This thing rules. This thing is awesome. So this is the ship of Shen. It's a ship like the Swain ship, like the Misfortune ship, like the Sejuani ship. It's a card that you can play that will draw Shen from your deck, and has an interaction that works with his particular champion abilities to make them even more overpowered. Like, this is a card, this is a game ender if you can keep it on the board. And it is a creature, it's not the red buff, Daniel Bruno, but it's a creature related to the red buff. If you remember in the Shen and Akali tales from Runeterra, where there's this shrine creature that gets mad and kind of bursts up out of the ground, this tree creature that comes to life, this creature is something similar. This is one of those spirit creatures of Ionia that comes to life and walks around and, like, acts in defense of the spirit of Ionia. And in this case, it seems to also act as a summoning portal for the Eye of Twilight, who's hanging out right up there, walking down. So once again, we have human for scale, which helps sell the sheer size and power of this thing, like just how big and kind of scary this thing is as a creature, how destructive it is when it's on the move. And that kind of does the storytelling of, like, this thing is probably something Shen only uses when he really, really needs to. Like, most of the time, that body will be buried under the ground, and this will just look like a shrine just kind of sitting there in the world, but sometimes apparently it needs to walk around and punch people, and so Shen has this thing on his side when he goes to war. Makes me wonder how Zed was ever a threat to him, really, because, like, holy shit, Shen has a kaiju. But yeah, not a lot to talk about in terms of framing. This thing is just big, and it's in the center of the image, and it has all of the light and color pretty much centered on it, and that's why it is in the center of the image. That's why it is the central character. Okay, we're getting close to the end. We've got 2 cards left. And here we have the Jawfish. So, as we talked about with Pike, the Jawfish are these terrifying deep-sea creatures, and inside their mouths, there's these little glands on the inside of their mouths among their teeth that contain a substance that is just, like, impossibly valuable, like, just, like, worth dying for, as Pike did. And Pike is a harpoon fisherman. He's a man whose job it literally was to dive into the mouths of these creatures. And, yeah, Yeti, right, the Yeti. We'll get to that. We'll get to the Yeti. To dive into their mouths and steal those little pods of that, like, really valuable substance, that really valuable oil. And unfortunately, Pike went in one time, and the Jawfish was coming up to the surface, and the ship was in danger, so the captain cut Pike's line and left him to die. And it turns out that Pike was captured by a very special one of these Jawfish, a very ancient one from the very, very deep sea, that then took him down to the deep sea and turned him into the revenant that he became eventually. So the Jawfish are not just animals, they are, like, they have some kind of intelligence, they have some kind of magical powers, they are special creatures, and they are very angry that fishermen are hunting them. They don't like that, and they want revenge, as you can see happening quite clearly in this particular image. Interestingly, there are no humans here for scale, which is something I would have expected them to do, like to have sailors drowning in the water or whatever from this thing smashing up a ship. But no sailors here for scale, for whatever reason, which I think is a bit of a pity. It would have added a little bit more to the sheer size of this motherfucker. Because, like, the ship there, how big is that ship? We don't really know. Is it a galleon? Is it a sloop? It's not really clear just by looking at it. Like, ships can have many different sizes, but human beings have, like, a pretty small set of, like, particular sizes that they can have. Can't add dead humans. Yeah, I mean, we can't have corpses. This is true. Like, it's like there's a limit to how gory they're allowed to get for the rating of the game. So, like, in the image of the fox with the dead guy on the ground, he just looks like he's sleeping, right? It would be something else. It was like a mangled corpse floating in the water. But yeah, that's what the Jawfish is, and it is a big boy. Like, it's like the Jawfish is like mostly made of jaw, right? Like, it's got this giant, broad, massive jaw holding on to that huge array of teeth that it's got going on down there. It's a huge, beefy, muscular boy, right? Like, this thing looks like it's just made of muscle. It just looks like it's made of physical power. It looks terrifying, frankly. And it has these fins, with, like, these hairy filaments on them that kind of remind me of coelacanths, which are like the fossil fish, like those ancient fish from like 140 million years ago or whatever. So it also looks ancient, like it has this feeling of being like an ancient dinosaur fish from a time before time, that kind of thing, you know? So yeah, it mostly works really well. I wish the scale of it was a little clearer, but it's a Jawfish. It's terrifying. It's big. Then there's the Abominable Guardian. Another card that's really fun because you can make 1,000,000,000 billion Yetis. And put like a 5/5 on the board on turn 3 if you want to. Which is fun. Here we have poor Björg, who has stumbled upon some sleeping Yeti yearlings, apparently, and he's about to regret that. He's about to regret it a lot. There's a good bit of storytelling here. Like, you can see it on his face, can't you? Like, you can see it like, oh, I fucked up. I fucked up. You can see the realization of what he's about to experience. So, composition. How do we create threat from this Yeti? Like, it's big, it's hairy, it's got claws, it's got teeth. So, already pretty scary. But how do we create, like, a sense of imminent danger? Well, we place the Yeti above our character and behind him so that, like, you get this sense of, like, he can't necessarily dodge whatever this Yeti is about to do before it does it. That creates a sense of danger and power, but mostly we just place it above him. We put it literally in a position of power above him, and then the second thing we do, we make the image point towards him. Like, so you have this, like, you can see, like, the little angles and the little lines of, like, this compositional bit of the ice thing that it's sitting on. This, like, this ice feature that it's sitting on creates this sense of direction going towards it. So you get this wedge shape made by the Yeti and the ice pillar that it's sitting on. But also, it's in the vanishing point of the image. Like, if you drew a perspective diagram of this image, the vanishing point would be somewhere like up here-ish, which means that all the radiant lines of that vanishing point would be drawing your attention from Björk towards the Yeti. Which again, like, just makes for a really good composition where the Yeti has all the power, the Yeti has all the threat, and he's about to get in trouble, get in quite a lot of trouble. And he's separated from the Yeti a little bit also by light. Like, over here is the only, like, warmth in the image. Like, it has this red and orange glow from the torch that lights up dear old Björg as he's about to get in trouble. And then the Yeti itself is only lit up by the cold, sharp, natural light of the ice cavern itself. So, like, you have this color contrast between the two of them. But yes, it's over because he has the high ground. You're right, Anzu. Did I miss something else? Was there a landmark? I saw someone say in chat that I missed a landmark. Let's see. The Twisted Tree Line. I missed the Twisted Tree Line, that's true. And Reaver's Row. Yes, good. Good attention paid there. So, as we talked about when we talked about landmarks, the landmark cards are not character pieces as such. They're technically landscapes, but the landscape is the character. Like, the landmark card is meant to say something about the landscape that we're looking at. It's meant to say something about what this place is. And this place is a terrifying spider cave. Just a terrifying spider cave. Just the scariest motherfucking place in the universe. Don't go in there. No one should go in there. It's a terrible place. It's awful, and I hate it. Because I don't like spiders very much. But compositionally, you see how there's kind of almost this spiral motion to the webs? Like the way they almost kind of spiral into the cave a little bit. Like you get this motion like from here, follow it over there, follow it over there, follow it over here. And then how it like kind of arcs its way over there. So you get almost this kind of spiraling motion, like a drain almost. Like you're being pulled in towards the center of this cave. That also helps to pull your eyes. Like your eyes also follow those lines and get drawn towards the center of the cave. So like it all creates this sense of like, oh, I don't want to be here. Like it's like, ooh, so like this is tempting somehow in a weird fucked up way. But it also makes the whole image revolve around that gaping maw of the cave, almost as though the cave itself is threatening to eat you. Is this the golden ratio? No. The golden ratio probably wouldn't apply here. Like, you can usually make the golden ratio fit whatever you want it to. Yes, we watch your reaction to the Nightmare of Menses. Yeah! Fucking spiders, man! No, I don't think the golden ratio would apply here, but there is this spiraling sensation that sort of draws you in towards here. And, like, all these little pods, and they have, like, this gross egg shape, and it's like, this is gross, and it's terrible, and I hate it. Go away. And apparently I missed a Noxian card as well. Well, we can find Noxian cards pretty easily. Oh, no, wait, you can't filter by region. That's so stupid. Why can't you filter by region? Was there a Noxian card that I missed? Let's see if I can find it. It's not the Profiteer, it's not the Poro, it's not the Earth Elemental, it's not the Coastal Defender. Well, it's not up here. Oh, you mean the Incisive Tactician? I believe I covered him in the last expansion. Oh, right. Noxus. There we go. Oh, wait. Yeah, there's Akatan, but we'll get to him later. That's the only new Noxus card in this expansion. Right. Jawfish, Abominable Guardian, Clockhand, and then it's just Atakan, Bringer of Ruin. So I don't know if this guy is a demon. I'm not sure. A nameless aberration towered above them in the smoke-filled chamber. The mages chanted in this court and chorused their dread in their voices, reaching a strained, fevered pitch. The monster breathed deep of their mounting fear, and each breath brought it terrible power. It seems to feed on their fear. Yeah, Reaver's Row. We'll get to Reaver's Row. Don't worry. We'll get to Reaver's Row. It seems to feed on their fear, and it's sort of, I think it qualifies maybe as a kind of demon. Like, it has the Atakan, Bringer of Ruin, which is like a champion. Like, it's formatted like a champion title, right? But I don't know that he's necessarily a demon. Like, it's hard to tell. Like, I don't know what Riot exactly is planning with this guy, because... But yeah, someone points out in chat, it's cooler Nocturne. Yeah, like, again, poor Nocturne just being outdone by everything. Because this is cooler Nocturne. Like, that... He's even got the smoke body thing going on. So yeah, like, poor Nocturne just being rendered more and more relevant by everything that happens in Legends of Runeterra. So, remember the things we talked about already. Framing. The framing right there with the giant arc. Like, we literally have this arc in front of like, besides the people here, framing the character themselves, creating this space for them specifically to occupy. Then we have the perspective of the image. You can see that there's a little bit of that perspective of like the walls tilting inwards, which creates a little bit of that wedge shape, that triangular wedge shape there, which again draws your attention towards the highest point in the image, the highest thing, which is the demon himself, Atakan, who gets to hover here. Then there's the lighting. The lighting coming from above, this bright natural sunlight, or natural looking light, rather, this pale white light coming down from above, literally highlighting the creature itself. Whereas all of the other characters in the image, these cultist people, are all kind of like, they're all in shadow, they're all like at most highlighted by a bit of fire. But they're not really there, whereas the demon itself is highlighted very brightly with this bright white light. And it's a cool demon design. Like, I see what people in chat mean. They say, like, it might be a Mordekaiser follower. Like, yeah, it's probably connected to Mordekaiser since it's the Black Rose summoning it. So, like, I'd say it's probably connected to Mordekaiser. Maybe it's some kind of undead revenant creature of some sort. Maybe. But who knows? Like, I don't know what Riot's plan is with this thing. Right. And then there was Riva's Roar, which I cannot see because I don't have landmarks enabled. There we go. There we are, Riva's Row. So here we have a little bit of a sort of much more peaceful environment than what we saw with Ripper's Bay. Remember, this clearly proves Noxus are the good guys. Yeah, yeah. This is like just like Bilgewater by day. People are going about their business. Like things are happening. New recruits are being recruited for Gangplank's ship. Like this is Gangplank's crew. You have the Citrus Courier. You have the what's he called? The Deckhand. The something or other. You have these. Damn it! I can't remember the names of his followers. But you have the one cost buff card there, the guy who summons a powder keg there, and the guy who gets +2/+2 when you plunder. He's right there. So this is all of Gangplank's crew. They're recruiting new deckhands for his ship. Petty Officer. Yes, the Petty Officer is chonky on this image. Yeah, he seems to have put on a few pounds. Good for him. Oh, Abigail Ruma. I feel like Atakan is like a Noxian fiddlesticks. Yeah, it kind of looks like he's supposed to be some kind of a demon. I don't know. But yeah, it's kind of a peaceful image overall, though. Like, because, like, the characters themselves, like, where there's human characters is, like, here. And we have the sheriff here, by the way, in the foreground as well. There's human characters, like, here, sort of occupying mostly just, like, the lower reaches. Like, just kind of hanging out in the lower parts of the image. Whereas the vast majority of the space is taken up just by Bilgewater buildings looking kind of mundane in the sunlight. They're just kind of looking mundane. And a little bit normal. Like, there's a sense of strange normalcy to the scene here. There's no violence, no one's attacking anyone, nothing's really happening. It's just like, this is a normal day in Bilgewater kind of mood that you get from it. Not that there is not violence potential at any given moment, but just a normal day in Bilgewater. And I think... Did I miss anything? Did I miss any cards? Are we done with the cards now? You'll have to let me know, chat, because if we are, then we'll move on to skins. Oh, Anastasia, thank you. Happy Pride Month to you as well. I'll get back to you on that email soon, by the way. Seems like I got all of them. I think so. Did I do the 1-mana landmark? You mean Ripper's Bay? Yes, we covered Ripper's Bay already. Ripper's Bay, rather, already. Cool. Then we can head to the store, is probably the easiest place to find them. And take a look at the card skins. Or not? Really? I can't see the full card art? Ah, from here, goddammit. Okay, back into the collection then. Then we'll have to do it the old-fashioned way. No? What the hell? Do I really have to unlock them to... Oh, I can just do that. There we go. There we go. Got it. Sandstorm Echo. So this is a Legends of Runeterra exclusive skin, where he gets a skin in the same line as Sand Wraith Pike, where he exists in Shurima at some point or another. It's not canonical in any sense of the word, but this is basically what would Echo be like if he was Shuriman. And what he would be is apparently a tomb raider. Like, instead of being an inventor, he would be someone who went into tombs to recover interesting magical artifacts that he could use to do stuff with. And this, I believe... Wait, is Sandstorm Echo in League? Really? Is he? I completely forgot about that. Huh. Well, okay, anyway, this would be the story of where he encountered this skin's version of the set drive. Or the C drive, if you want to pronounce that letter that way. Which is apparently an artifact that he finds in the bottom of a tomb. And you can see the effects of the C drive, what it does. It's already creating his after images, right? You can see him climbing up. You can see him going, yes, I found a cool thing. And going over here, like, poking at it and being like, ooh, what does this thing do? And over there, like, oh my god, did I hear a noise? Is something happening? And then finally settling into the position where he's just about to grab it, right here. Which I think, like, that's a really cool way to do storytelling in the image by just literally showing everything that he did visually in the image. Sand Pike is in LoL too. Yeah, I know. I remember Sand Wraith Pike. I know that that's his launch skin. I did not remember Echoes. So yeah, the central feature of the image is the Z drive, the magical artifact, the hourglass of Prince of Persia hourglass thing that he's got going on here. And the secondary character is Echo himself right there, like getting ready to steal it, like with a hand poised over it like Indiana Jones getting ready to grab the thing and activate some traps. As people are putting on chat, as the little void creature is skittering along trying to catch him, because he's running out of time. Literally. And like it's all kind of centered around these concentric circles from the dais itself, creating kind of a framing for Echo to occupy, and it's a perfectly good little splash art. I quite like it. Then we have him actually using the power of the Z drive, and one thing I kind of like as a storytelling element is that as he has now acquired this magical power, his bandana, like his bandit's mask, falls away. And instead of being just a bandit or a thief, all of a sudden he becomes a hero. Like, he becomes much more of a character. He becomes much more... Like, we are not denied access to his face anymore, so now he becomes much more relatable and heroic, rather than being kind of alienated from us by this mask that he's wearing. Oh, sorry about that. And they're repeating the same trick again. Like, you can see all of the moves that Echo does are sort of recorded by his after images that are following him along. Yeah, he still has the bandana, but he's not wearing it. Or rather, I think the bandana is flying around here. He has the bandana back there, but here, as he's like fully activating the powers of the thing and coming into his own, he sheds the bandana and becomes fully a person, which is like just good bit of visual storytelling there. And yeah, again, color saturation makes him a central character. The light from the Z drive following him along and highlighting him helps making the central character of the image. And just the fact that he's huge, like he occupies pretty much the entire image with his spread out arms, like he pretty much all of it is occupied in some way by Echo, which makes him a central character, and that works really well. I still think, like I really think that Riot and the way that they're approaching skins in this game is terrible. Like, it kind of sucks. Because like I don't think it's worth like the money that they're asking for a fucking JPEG, where, like, 99% of the time, this is all you see of that damn JPEG. Like this. That's all you see of the JPEG that you spent, like, $10 on or whatever. And I don't think it's worth it. Like, if card skins in Legends of Runeterra are gonna be worth it at all, they need to have, like, a level-up animation and, like, effects as a baseline. Preferably also some voice lines. Like, they need to have more than just being a JPEG replacement for the money that they're charging. Like, 700 coins. I just don't think it's worth it at all. Anyway, Pike's Sand Wraith Pike follows on from Echo, because this is Echo presumably right after raiding some kind of tomb. Maybe, I don't think he has the Z drive on him. I don't think that's what this thing is. But this is, so I think this is before he finds the Z drive. This is when he's going to the tomb to steal the thing. And I think that he's meant to be pursued by, goddammit, Sand Wraith Pike into the tomb as he's doing his thing. Because you can see Sandwraith Pike has kind of the same sorts of powers that the C drive eventually gives to Echo. But anyway, framing. The framing is right there. We have the portal, the opening door to the tomb itself becomes the frame for Pike that he occupies as a sole character, which puts a lot of centered attention on him. Then we have the vanishing point. The vanishing point of the image is somewhere down here, which means all the lines on the walls, like all the perspective lines of the image, are pointing towards Pike, highlighting him in the image as the central character of the piece, with Echo as a secondary character looking on and being like, oh, well, that's probably a problem, something he's going to have to run away from. We've also got Nasus hanging out down here on the side. Nasus just hanging out casually as an Egyptian-style drawing on the wall over there, because this is presumably one of Nasus's tombs. Also, like, statues of Nasus. And this then is after Echo has already run away, and Pike is now giving full chase, so you can see him rushing into the tomb itself, using, like, having these after images after him that kind of echo the same kinds of abilities that Echo will eventually obtain. And Nasus once again hanging out as a hieroglyph on the side down there. And it's pretty much the same image, but just a few moments later. So, like, still the same portal, still the same framing, still the same vanishing point with lines drawing attention to the central character, but now Pike is literally the largest thing in the entire image. Right. Shyvana has a skin, Darkstar. And I'm not, like, really huge on this one. Like, as a character design, it's just kind of... It's not really that good. Like, because it doesn't look that much like Shyvana, first of all. Because it's just, like... It pretty much just has the gauntlets. But other than that, like, with that body, it could be, like, Darkstar Leona. Like, it could be, like, with that, like that central breastplate thing, or Darkstar Diana. Like, the only thing that really identifies Shyvana is the gauntlets. And I just don't think it looks like her very much. And I'm also not a huge fan of this composition either. It uses color hierarchies to center Shyvana, right? Like, Shyvana is this dark purple and, like, blues and stuff. And everything else in the image is much more tinted towards the red. So that gives her, like, a place of prominence and a center in the image that, like, it makes her stand out. But as a composition, it's kind of too chaotic and not really very interestingly composed, and her pose is also just kind of boring. Like, it's just, she's just kind of floating there. She's not really doing anything, where, like, if she had a more exaggerated action pose, I think that would be cooler. Like, that would make her look better and more interesting. I feel better about her level 2, like when she's in full dragon form. Like, this, as a composition, I like this better, with, like, those long arms drawing your view into the center, like with her in this uncontested sphere of destruction in the center of the image. Like, that works better. You have these concentric circles also, like, creating framing for her to occupy. It works better, but again, as a character design, it's like, really? Like, you have a cosmic dragon of destruction that evaporates all it touches, and it's just like... that's it? As a character design, that's it? That's all you... That's just... It's just the shape of a woman, like, again, with the fucking feminized shape, which I also find kind of annoying. Like, because I don't mind Shyvana having, like, a feminine hourglass shape when she's in human form. Like, whatever, fine. That's fair enough. You need to identify her gender, that's cool. But when she's in dragon form, like, this just makes her look kind of small and fragile. In a way that I just don't... Like, it doesn't... She just looks like a human who has really long arms. Like, it just makes her look way too human rather than monstrous. And being monstrous would be the whole point of the dragon form, right? Like, that's the whole point of her being this, is that she would be, like, extra monstrous and huge and scary. And she just kind of doesn't look it. Like, I don't know, I'm just not a fan of the Darkstar Shyvana at all. Like, generally the cosmic skins are just not my favorites, but eh.